Rachel, the reaction in the newsroom, it was shock right away when we heard the same on social media. I think people are starting to understand why they made such a big decision. What are you hearing from people around the league?
Yeah, look, players are mostly just shocked. Damian Lillard told me he was on his couch when the news crossed. A lot of guys weren't prepared for this. They were preparing possibly for the news of, are we going to play games without fans? And just wondering what that would be like and the feeling of that, and going back to maybe some of their high school days, in empty kind of gyms. And now this is a whole different story. You've got guys who have been in a rhythm and a schedule for so long and don't really know what to do with themselves. Where do they go from here? Are they going to get tested? I have talked to players who played against the Jazz in the last week, wondering, should they get tested? Are they going to get tested? Still talking to their teams about what they can and should do. I spoke to Kyle Lowry, who just got done with a road trip, and he said, I'm just grateful I haven't been around my kids, because he said the biggest concern with a lot of the players he knows is they kind of feel invincible, right? They're athletes, they're strong, they're healthy young men, but they're around people who are more vulnerable, and that's who this virus attacks the most. So I think there's just sort of general concern, and when it affects someone directly, the way it has now affected all of these players, it feels like the disease has hit home.
Rachel, since Friday, Rudy Gobert has shared the floor with 34 players from the Celtics, the Pistons, the Raptors, and the Jazz. Woj had mentioned earlier, too, there's been limited testing. You'd mentioned it there, too. Should that be priority number one for the NBA right now, getting the players tested?
I certainly think that's a concern, but the good thing for them is that by suspending all of these games, you know that you are no longer putting more players into contact with a known coronavirus carrier. Now, what they don't know yet is who else might be a carrier and who else has been in contact. You just named, there's 34 players, but there could be a guy on another team who just hasn't been tested yet, and there's a whole additional 40 players who have been in contact with him. So that's part of really what all of us as Americans are going through right now, because there has been so little testing. You don't really know if you are someone who has been in contact with someone. We know who the 34 are who have been in contact with Rudy Gobert, but there could easily be another NBA player who won't know for a few days if they also are a carrier for the virus, and then all of a sudden you're going to have a whole new cluster there. So I think guys are going through that. And then there is also the uncertainty of not knowing in the bigger picture where or how this is going to end and kind of how it will affect long-term the NBA season. The NBA season has started late, right? We've had lockouts, we've had reasons that the NBA season has been delayed. It has never finished late. They have just started with a shortened season when we have those late starts. So knowing whether this is going to be a suspension and we're going to pick right back up with the playoffs, knowing whether it's going to be a suspension and they're going to extend the calendar out till July or August, all of this is stuff that the NBA is going to try to sort out in the coming days and weeks. Vince Carter played a game tonight, and he was up at the podium, and afterward reporters were asking him, what if this was your last basketball game? He's set to retire at the end of this year. He's had a 22-year career in the NBA, obviously expected his last game to be something with a lot of fanfare, right, and meaning, and by the way, knowing when he walked on the court that that was going to be his last game, and instead he walked off tonight and someone said, hey, we don't know. You might play a last game in the next month or so, or maybe this was it. And he got a little emotional talking about that. So there's different experiences happening for all of these different players, but it's very big, and it feels very much like all of this has happened very fast and very strongly with them and everybody that they care about.
Yeah, we'll get to that Vince Carter highlight in just a moment. But again, the scary thing here, there's no real game plan for the NBA, for Adam Silver. We haven't been through this situation before, so take it day by day in that short term. Thank you very much, Rachel.
I think the NBA should be. I do think the NBA should be commended for acting as quickly as they did tonight. Obviously, the doctors were in contact as soon as there was even the possibility of a positive test. Adrian Wojnarowski is reporting that the Thunder and the Jazz worked in concert with each other to make sure that Gobert was not in contact with any additional players. Rudy Gobert never went into the arena, so people who were at the arena tonight didn't have any contact with him. And then as soon as that positive test came through, they obviously canceled the game and then made the decision to suspend the season. We didn't even wait till tomorrow. So I think they're moving as fast as anyone can be expected to, but this is, as you say, a completely new situation.
No, you're definitely right about that. They should be commended for making that decision and kind of being a leader in that sense. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Thank you. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.